Well, I want to go to the UK, where a senior judge has been heavily criticised for giving his, get this, best wishes to one of the masterminds behind the 9/11 attacks on New York and the London bombings in 2005. Sir Robert J made the comments at a High Court hearing ahead of Haroon Aswat's imminent release. This is a man who was sentenced to 20 years jail in the US for admitting to helping set up a terrorist training camp in Oregon. He was deported to the UK after serving just 7 years and is now being released, having served just half of his sentence. The judge apparently told Aswat, quote, "It could not have been too pleasant being in American custody all that time. I have to wish you all the best and say to you that the way forward is to keep on your medication, listen to the advice you're going to get, and keep out of the sort of things you were doing." Well, indeed. Joining me now from London is GK News host Patrick Christys. Patrick, if that judge is not immediately sacked, there's something very, very wrong.
I mean, Haroon Aswat was detained under the Mental Health Act. I would detain that judge under the Mental Health Act. Thousands died in 9/11. 52 people died in the 7/7 terrorist attacks we had here in London. Hundreds more were injured. You cannot de-radicalise a jihadi. How do we know that? Because we've got some cast iron examples. The London Bridge attacker here in London, obviously, was released, said he'd been rehabilitated, then killed his support workers, who were two young people. Just a few weeks ago, I exclusively revealed on my GB News show that Britain's most dangerous jihadi, that was probably before the guy that we're talking about now, had been released. He was called Mohammed Shah Jahan. He plotted to blow up the London Stock Exchange and commit a marauding gun and bomb attack around the capital. He was released. They just let him out. They said that he'd served his time and that despite the fact that mental health workers said that he still posed a danger, they let him out anyway. He was close friends with that other attacker that I just mentioned there. Another accomplice of theirs was released. He was recalled immediately for planning another terror attack. I mean, I'm starting to wonder whether or not some of these judges are lunatics. You know, they've been interpreting law designed for Ukrainian refugees to allow Gazans into Britain. We've had a card-carrying former member of the Labour Party allowing the continued use of migrant hotels, and now they're allowing these jihadi terrorists back onto our streets. I mean, there is something seriously wrong with our judicial system here in this country.
Yeah, well, I've got to say, I read the UK Telegraph and the UK Times every day, and it seems like every other day there's some decision or comment from a member of the British judiciary that is so at odds with what you would expect normal people would be thinking and expecting.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to have a look at who some of these people are. And has that judicial system been infiltrated by people on the kind of hard left, as it were? I mean, we know that one of the judges who was responsible for the ruling about the migrant hotels being allowed to stay open, he sided with the government on that. He'd been a member of the Labour Party for 28 years. He was the former treasurer or chairman of the Fabian Society, which is a really hard left thing. I mean, their logo is a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? So you've got that. He was the treasurer of the Society of Labour Lawyers. I mean, he set up the chambers, the same barristers' chambers that our Attorney General currently worked for before. That's the same guy, obviously, that was fine for us to sign off our sovereign territory to Mauritius, the Chagos. You have to look at who these people really are, you know, and I do wonder whether or not really they are, in a sense, enemies of Britain.
It certainly starts to come across that way. Speaking of enemies of Britain, the African Union is reportedly set to demand what it calls meaningful reparations. You can read into that what you will, from former colonial countries, including the UK. African leaders argue that Britain, which once controlled a quarter of the continent, is guilty of historic crimes and Africans must be compensated. They're currently working on what I would call a shopping list of reparations for slavery. Patrick, I think there's a lesson here, is there not? When the West turns on itself, we shouldn't be surprised when everyone else turns on the West as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they can swivel. I'll just say that straight away. But this is what happens when the British government and the West shows weakness. Like I said before, we've given away the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. Well, we're not giving it away. We've actually paid them for the privilege of taking our territory. We're currently being led by a spineless human rights lawyer in the shape of a prime minister who's obsessed with international law. And we now have a deputy prime minister who has openly called for reparations. So this is just absolutely astonishing stuff. I don't really think that Britain has got anything to apologise for. And also there's question marks as to where would this money seriously go. I mean, with respect, some of these African countries are amongst the most corrupt in the world. So the idea of handing over potentially to the tune of hundreds of billions of pounds, by the way, British taxpayers' money, to some of the more corrupt countries in the world is not a particularly good idea. And also, you know, I'm not being funny, but we accept a lot of immigration, both legal and illegal, from various different African nations as well. So they kind of can't have it both ways. Some people would say that we are, in a way, paying reparations because we seem to be accepting thousands of mostly young men from the likes of Eritrea and Ethiopia on a monthly basis illegally across the English Channel, and putting them up, you know, for free in luxury hotels and giving them everything that they could possibly want. I mean, that is a form of reparations, isn't it? And I think that's more than enough as it is.
Just really quick, because I want to move on to Prince Harry, but these demands for reparations, that they happen from time to time. The demands are getting stronger, but do you seriously think they'll go anywhere?
They can't. I mean, seriously, if this government is already on the brink in this country, if they decide to give away British taxpayers' money when we are being asked to pay the highest tax burden ever here now, I honestly think you will just have, I'll stop short of saying riots, obviously, I don't want to incite anything, but I mean, there'll be massive protests on the streets. The government would have to go. It will be lunacy.
All right, Prince Harry has met with his father, King Charles, for the first time in 19 months. The pair shared tea at Clarence House in London. The last time Harry hung out with his dad was in February last year, when he flew to London after hearing news of the King's cancer diagnosis. Does this mean that there's been a thawing of relations? What do we read into this, Patrick?
I think Harry's apologised. I think that behind the scenes, Prince Harry has apologised. It's the only way that I see this meeting happening. Now, apparently he's got a new team around him, which is one of several new teams that he's had. And they've admitted that the decision to take on the Home Office in the High Court about his security was wrong. And apparently they have insisted that the days of these interviews that he's been doing with Oprah, etc., are behind him. So I think there's been a shift there. I think that we'll find out, though, won't we, whether or not he means that? Because are we going to end up seeing the details of this meeting leaked to the US press, or appear in a Netflix documentary, or come out in some kind of cookery show that Meghan Markle decides to do in someone else's kitchen at some point in the future? There is another angle to this story, of course, which is that it will heighten concerns for King Charles's health. I think rightly so. We don't know exactly, you know, how well or otherwise he's doing. It's a private health matter. But does this reconciliation with Prince Harry maybe indicate that he wants to try to square that off in the time that he's still got left? And bear in mind as well that this will have gone down very, very badly with Prince William, his other son, our next king, who is apparently, from what I'm hearing, in no mood for reconciliation with Prince Harry. So there's that. I mean, there is another slight angle, which is that Prince Harry could be looking to shore up or get assurances from his father that he will still have some form of royal title once King Charles does go. But hopefully we don't have to find that out for a long time.
There's always that angle as well. You're absolutely right. Patrick Christys, always a delight to speak with you. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you.